Now let's move to another matter. Many companies in South Africa are still operating remotely, but may have plans to return staff to the offices. One of the key considerations for returning on a full-time basis is being vaccinated. Now the question is, do employers have a right to force employees to disclose their vaccination status? Essentially, do they have a right to access workers' medical records? For more on this, I'm joined by Jean-Paul Red, a partner at Adams & Adams Attorneys. Very good morning to you. Some important questions. Do employers have a right to demand the vaccination proof?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on your show. Well, medical information is generally regarded as highly sensitive and personal. It therefore enjoys extensive protection in South Africa and the rest of the world for that matter. Now, the common law prevents the public disclosure of private facts. There's also a common law duty on medical practitioners to preserve professional confidence. Now, that is very much like the professional confidence you would get between an attorney and his client, or a priest and a parishioner. Now, the National Health Act of 2003 takes it a little bit a step further, in the sense it makes it an offence to disclose medical information without the consent of the patient. And if you look at the HPCSA, which is the regulator for all medical practitioners, they have published guidelines regarding the disclosure of medical information. But importantly, there are three very important exceptions when medical information can be disclosed. Now, the first one would be in a criminal or civil trial where a judge orders the information to be disclosed. It's very much the same as the ex-president's case at the moment, the Zuma criminal trial, where the Judge Piet Koen has ordered the disclosure of medical information. Then you also get legislation which also requires medical information to be disclosed. Now, that would be, for instance, in a claim against the Road Accident Fund, the fund would require claimants to submit certain medical information. Now, the important part when it comes to employers is the public interest component. That is the third exception that we do have. Now, the public interest exception says that the public interest weighs more heavily than individual interests, and in such a case, you would be forced to disclose the information, or you can disclose it without the patient's consent. So to get back to your answer, or to your question, it took a bit of a roundabout, but the answer is that employers would be able to disclose or request the employees to disclose their vaccination status.
Companies who plan to impose mandatory vaccine policies in the workplace have to have this declared with the Department of Labour. How does that process now impact the employee who perhaps does not want to get vaccinated and also does not want to reveal the reasons why they don't want to get vaccinated?
Well, again, it goes about the public interest. So if you look at a mine, for example, if 90% of the mine workers have been vaccinated and there are 10% that are refusing to be vaccinated, then the mine would be within their rights to actually retrench those workers, on condition, obviously, that they could not accommodate them elsewhere. For instance, where they wouldn't be exposed to other workers. So it all goes about the public interest and what sort of measures have you put in place. For instance, someone that works from home that is not required to enter the office on a daily basis would hardly be required to be vaccinated, because they do not expose any of the other employees at the office to any risks in respect of contamination.
When it comes to perhaps companies demanding, of course, to know somebody's vaccination status, is there some sort of framework which would make employers have access to the employees' medical records which perhaps go beyond the little vaccination card that we receive when we get the jab?
No, so at this stage, I think all the employers will be entitled to is to establish that you have been vaccinated, and you would have to provide proof in respect of that vaccination. Currently in South Africa, we've got the vaccination cards, but if we look world over, it is being digitized, so we should have apps in this regard very soon, where this information should be freely available on an app, and the employers would be able to access it through that. But to have access to more than your vaccination status would not be in the public interest, because you go back to your common law rights, privacy rights, which says that medical information is highly sensitive and personal, and it can only be disclosed under certain strict circumstances.